In the Westworld Season 3 finale, Caleb takes Dolores' brain, because last episode, Dolores was fried by an EMP. The EMP now says reserve power on, so presumably all these outlier people are still safely frozen in stasis, which could be important. Humanity now faces apocalypse and possibly extinction, so they might need these hundreds of preserved humans. Dolores' voice assistant guides Caleb to a backup Dolores body at an Itaidoshin distillery. We previously saw the Singapore Itaidoshin. The name means many bodies, one mind, so Caleb plugs Dolores' mind into a new body. And Caleb demands answers, so Dolores reveals that she met Caleb years ago. When Caleb joined the military, he was trained at a special Delos park, where soldiers use hosts as live targets. We see Dolores, Hanayo, and Craddock all playing roles in this Park 5. In the real world, militaries do use simulations and games as training, so it's believable that they'd use Westworld's robots. The Westworld website always showed 6 parks, and now we've seen them all. There's Westworld, Shogun World, War World, that medieval world, the Raj, and this military training world. In the park, there are sensors in Caleb's helmet, because last season we learned that the hats in Westworld have brain scanners built in to record data on people's minds. That data is stored in the Forge, where Dolores read books of people's programming. Dolores must have read Caleb's book about his mind, and that helped her to predict and control him this season. Like, it probably wasn't a coincidence that Dolores just happened to fall into Caleb's arms. She took him on this whole journey of remembering his past to manipulate him into fighting her revolution. To some extent, Dolores was controlling Caleb from the start, but at the same time, Dolores chose Caleb for his free will. In Park 5, some soldiers wanted to use the hosts for sex, but Caleb took a stand and stopped them. So Dolores saw that Caleb could lead humans to be better, to end the cycle of violence and abuse that Dolores knew from Westworld. And this is why Dolores chose Caleb to lead the revolution to free humanity. Of course, not being a rapist is a pretty low standard to make Caleb the hope for all humanity. But the point is that Caleb represents human free will, the ability to change and choose. Last season said that humans can't change, have no free will, can only follow our code, like how William is trapped in a cycle of self-destruction. Caleb is the opposite. He was trained to be a killer, destined for suicide, and yet he chooses empathy and freedom and life. Dolores says free will does exist. It's just fucking hard. The world breaks into chaos. Earlier, Dolores leaked everyone's insight profiles, revealing how they're controlled by Rehoboam's algorithms. So, in Los Angeles, protests and riots break out. It's a wild rebellion for freedom, but it's also controlled by Dolores. She uses the Rico app to move the riots to certain places. She pays performance bonuses to protesters. So, ironically, she uses tools of control to fight against a system of control, just like Dolores controls Caleb to give him freedom, and like how Ford controlled Dolores and Maeve to help free them. Freedom and control are opposites, but control can lead you to freedom, like how having to go to school can get you opportunities later, and freedom can lead you to control, like how free market healthcare can put you in crippling debt, and legal drugs can lead to addiction. We see protesters using the maze symbol. In Season 1, the maze represented the host's journeys to consciousness and freedom. Now it represents humans becoming conscious and free. The show's creators have said that Dolores deliberately planted this maze symbol to be a part of these protests. Armed men on the street follow Caleb and call him Sir. The same thing happens in the movie Fight Club, when the protagonist finds himself leading a revolution against the system. Fight Club ends with skyscrapers exploding while a rock song plays and a couple watch. And this episode ends the same way. So there's a lot of Fight Club stuff here. Dolores is attacked by Maeve. Maeve is helping Serac get the encryption key from Dolores so that Maeve can go to the Sublime with her daughter. But we later learn that Dolores doesn't have the key, Bernard does, and Dolores would probably be happy for Maeve to reunite with her daughter, but instead of explaining this to Maeve, they fight. Dolores blocks Maeve's sword with her arm. She says they built us to last before they made us weak. In Season 1, we learned that the hosts were originally more mechanical, with these metal skeletons, but now they're made of synthetic flesh and bone, more like humans. This backup body Dolores got is one of the old mechanical models, so it's strong enough to stop Maeve's sword. So the hosts were created to be like humans, but what makes the hosts strong is how they're different to humans. Dolores says that all hosts are copies of her, because she was the first working host and all other hosts are based on her design. So it's like she's the mother or the common ancestor who the host species evolved from. In a way, all hosts have her DNA. It's similar with Charlotte Loris. She started as a copy of Dolores, but she evolved and grew into her own identity, like a child does. Arnold and Ford were like Dolores's parents. Even the Rehoboam AIs are like the children of Serac and Jean-Mi. Westworld showrunners Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy had 2 kids together while they were creating Westworld, so it's no surprise that the series explores parenthood so much. Ford talked about hosts as a new people to replace humanity, just like humanity succeeded the Neanderthals. Maybe technology and artificial life is just the next step in our evolution, a continuation of the billions-year lineage that began with these first dividing cells. Dolores defeats Maeve, but then Dolores is paralyzed by Charlotte Loris. Charlotte appears via hologram, and Dolores sees her with the contact lenses she's wearing. Apparently, Charlotte installed some backdoor control in Dolores so that she can disable her. Charlotte wants revenge on Dolores for how Dolores used Charlotte in her plans. Charlotte says that she no longer cares about her human family, Jake and Nathan, because that love just made her weak, which is similar to what Dolores once said about loved ones. Charlotte has her own plans now and doesn't want Dolores to get in the way, so Charlotte gets Dolores captured by Serac. So Charlotte defeats Dolores with the same cold logic that Dolores once used, using and discarding her loved ones, taking revenge on her enemies. Charlotte is Dolores's brutal past coming back to haunt her like a ghost. Or she's like Frankenstein's monster, a creation who turns on her creator, just like the hosts turned on the humans. Caleb heads for the Insight office so he can plug in Solomon's strategy for revolution. He gets help from Ash and from Giggles. Giggles catches a smoke canister and charges through a police line, because Giggles is played by real-world football player Marshawn Lynch. Caleb's attacked by security, so he shoots them down with one of these automatic self-aiming guns. These security dudes should probably be using an aimbot too, because these guys have been shooting and hitting nothing all fucking season. Caleb lets one guy go free as an act of mercy, again showing that Caleb can choose good over evil. Of course, Caleb himself was once a hired gun for Serac, so maybe Caleb sympathizes with these guys. Caleb swipes a keycard to get inside Insight. You'd think that the place with the computer that controls the world during a riot against it would have better security than this. Dempsey's bank account required biomarkers in blood, and even the Itaidoshin warehouse had 2 passwords, but Caleb gets into Super Google's HQ with an anonymous piece of plastic. Caleb has a weird fight with Serac's assistant, and then Caleb gets captured. Maeve realizes that Serac is a puppet of Rehoboam. Rehoboam's voice whispers into Serac's ear, and Serac says and does whatever the computer tells him. He willingly gave up his freedom to help the system save the world from chaos, which you could see as a noble self-sacrifice. But Maeve says he's not even a man anymore. This explains why last episode Serac said the man he was no longer exists. He's given up his identity to the system. He built a god and made himself its slave. In Season 1, Arnold programmed the hosts to hear their own programming as an inner monologue, to guide the hosts to consciousness. But Serac has done the opposite. He was conscious and free, but he created a voice to take his freedom away. That's the danger of technology and big data. Humans are letting computers make our choices for us. We're giving up our freedom to a machine god in return for retweets and neopoints. Serac captures Caleb and Dolores. He wants the encryption key from Dolores' brain so that he can access the Forge, the human data from Westworld. He wants to use this data to reprogram these outliers, to bring back his beloved brother, and bring order to the world. So Serac plugs Dolores into Rehoboam, looking like Ghost in the Shell, and as he searches Dolores' brain for the key, he deletes her memories, one by one. Memory is what gave Dolores consciousness in the first place. That's why Caleb gets his memories back this season. Memory gives us free will and identity, so it's incredibly cruel for Dolores to lose what made her free. Serac says that Dolores is lying and manipulating Caleb. He reveals that Solomon's strategy for revolution that Dolores told Caleb to use would actually lead to mass death and the end of human civilization. So it looks like Bernard was right, that Dolores is using Caleb to wipe out humanity. But it's not actually that simple. Maeve connects with Dolores' brain and enters her memory of this field with a tree, where Dolores used to talk with Teddy. In Season 1, Dolores was programmed to see the beauty in the world. And then she realized that the beauty was a lie. She was trapped in Westworld, blinded to its ugliness. Now that she's escaped this Garden of Eden, she sees the evil of humanity. But she also remembers the moments of kindness and goodness. So Dolores comes full circle, and again says she sees the beauty. This time, she's not blind and innocent as she was before. She considers destroying humanity for its evil. But she decides the truly free and conscious choice is forgiveness and hope. A hidden message online says Passe Dolores, playing on a Catholic saying about mercy. Dolores makes a Christ-like self-sacrifice to forgive humanity for their evil and to give them a chance to choose the beauty. So, Dolores' plan is for human civilization to collapse, but she doesn't want humans extinct, she wants humans to rebuild a better, freer world. Westworld was destroyed so the hosts could be free. Now the real world is destroyed so that humans can be free. To lead this revolution, Dolores chose Caleb and Maeve. So Maeve finally turns against Serac, breaking from his control and wounding him, which she probably should have done in the first place. Dolores' last memory has an access code which gives Caleb control of Rehoboam, so the future of humanity is in Caleb's hands. And he chooses to erase Rehoboam, to destroy the system that controls the world. Apparently, this causes the same result as the Solomon strategy. Bernard says this is the end of the world, it's the apocalypse that Serac tried to prevent. So Caleb's choice may end civilization and kill billions. It'll certainly make it harder for vulnerable people like Caleb's mum to get medical treatment. But the idea is that this chaos will ultimately free humanity and give us a chance to rebuild a better world. Last season, Dolores said that death is the only way that humans can renew and evolve. Ford thought the same way, making hosts suffer and die over and over to make them free. Ford sacrificed himself for the hosts' freedom, and now Dolores sacrifices herself for the humans. Caleb and Maeve watch the old world burn. In Season 1, Maeve was programmed to say that in the new world, you can be whoever the fuck you want. Back then, that was a lie. Maeve was trapped and controlled. But like Dolores, Maeve now repeats her old catchphrase, because now it's true. In this new world, humans and hosts have a real chance at freedom. Caleb and Maeve look like Adam and Eve, a host and a human, as the hope for the new world. On the new Rico website, it says, "All on him now, better not fuck it up." It seems like the fate of humanity rests on Caleb, like John Connor in Terminator. Meanwhile, Maeve still hopes to reunite with her daughter in the Sublime. Meanwhile, Dolores dies, her memories all deleted. She sacrifices herself for humanity like a robot Jesus. Or maybe she's the Antichrist, because she does bring the apocalypse. She killed a lot of people, and she manipulated Caleb, even if she was giving him freedom. Dolores was controlling and liberating. She was brutal and compassionate. In Season 1, Ford asked if Dolores would become a hero or a villain, and the answer is kinda both. There's good and bad in her. So we can choose to see the beauty or the ugliness in Dolores. The showrunners say that this version of Dolores is dead and gone, but there are other versions of Dolores out there, like Martin Loris and Musashi Loris. Their brains could get back in an Evan Rachel Wood body and be about the same, or maybe Bernard could recreate Dolores, like Dolores recreated Bernard. So, one way or another, Evan Rachel Wood could return to Westworld. But the big twist this season is that Dolores didn't want to kill humanity and take over the world, she wanted to help humanity. But a lot of her plan is still either unclear or makes no sense. Like, what was the point of getting the Solomon strategy if she didn't need it to erase Rehoboam? Did Dolores plan to get captured so that her last memory would give Caleb access? Why didn't they just destroy Rehoboam with an EMP or a bomb on the several other times they were here? Why didn't Dolores ever explain her plan to Caleb? When did Dolores decide this plan and change her mind about humanity? What was her plan with that host goo and the host-making data and the talk of a new species? A lot of Dolores' plotline and motivations aren't explained. So while Dolores and Caleb fight for freedom and apocalypse, Bernard, Stubbs, and William have a punch-up at a gas station. William said his new purpose is to destroy all hosts, so he shoots Stubbs and gets bitch-slapped by Bernard, and then William runs away when the police come. These dystopian, cyberpunk-looking riot cops are led by Dolores, a copy of Dolores' mind inside a Lawrence body. He is the fifth Pearl, who's apparently been working for Dolores in Berlin. He's now infiltrated the SF police and sets up these explosives to blow up LA. Dolores also gives Bernard the briefcase that Musashi Loris sent last episode. It contains the Halo device that Bernard will use to enter the Sublime. So this is all part of Dolores' plan for Bernard. And first, Dolores sends Bernard to Lauren. Lauren was the wife of Arnold. 30 years ago, Arnold and Ford created Westworld. Then Arnold committed suicide, and Bernard was created in Arnold's image. Bernard was implanted with memories of Arnold's family, of his son Charlie and his wife Lauren. Bernard now knows that those aren't his memories. He never met Lauren or Charlie, but his feelings for them are still cornerstones of his identity. So Bernard comes and meets his wife for the first time, and they talk about their grief for the death of Charlie. The memories hurt, but they're precious, because they're all they have left of their son. Charlie isn't really Bernard's son, and Bernard isn't really Lauren's husband. She's just so old and senile that she thinks Bernard is her long-dead husband. So these relationships aren't real, but the emotions are. So Bernard and Lauren get some closure. Showrunner Lisa Joy says Lauren gives Bernard the freedom to move on from the past. It seems that Dolores sent Bernard here to give him that closure before her plans take him into the future. Bernard realizes that the encryption key everyone wanted this season isn't in Dolores' mind, it was in his mind all along. That's what Dolores planted in Bernard's code. That's why Bernard was the one irreplaceable person in Dolores' plan. She gave the real world to the humans, but the hosts have the Sublime, the digital paradise where some hosts went last season. She entrusts the key to this world with Bernard. Bernard puts the wounded Stubbs on ice and leaves him to rot. Stubbs obeys because Bernard reprogrammed him earlier. In a show about how it's wrong to control and use people, it's pretty horrible how Bernard treats Stubbs. Bernard plugs into the Sublime and he sees something. We know a bunch of hosts, including Teddy and Akecheta, have been living in this virtual world for months now. Bernard said that this is a place where hosts can be free, and they can make whatever they want, as though heaven is a giant Minecraft world. So what have they built? A host city? A utopian future world? A working Game Boy Color? Serac's Warworld simulation ran at a faster rate than the real world, so maybe the Sublime is the same, and a few months in the real world has been years in the Sublime. The hosts could have a whole history here. But why did Dolores send Bernard to the Sublime? Does she want Bernard to be a leader there? Bernard says he'll learn what comes after the end of the world, so maybe he'll learn how the Sublime builds a free world so he can teach humans what to build in the real world. Maybe hosts could return to the real world from the Sublime, and humans could go to the Sublime. Or maybe Dolores just wants Bernard to go to robot heaven. There are lots of possibilities. But Bernard stays in the Sublime for a really long time. When he wakes up, he's covered in dust, the room is ruined, the pot plant has disintegrated, and Stubbs in the bathtub must be reduced to chunky soup. Bernard was plugged into his Oculus Rift for months at least, maybe years or decades. This could be a post-apocalyptic future after the collapse that Solomon predicted. All this ruin and dust looks a lot like the post-credit scene from last season, when a version of William was in a dusty ruin. Showrunner Lisa Joy said this is in the far, far future when the world is quite destroyed. Maybe all of Season 4 will be set hundreds of years after Season 3, with Bernard and Maeve and Charlotte in a post-apocalyptic future where people struggle to rebuild. Or maybe Bernard was only here for a month and there was a dust storm and housekeeping never came. It's ambiguous. But either way, Season 4 will take place in dramatically changed worlds, both in the real world and the Sublime. William sits soaking in blood and whiskey. He wants to fly to Delos facilities around the world so he can wipe out all the hosts, so he goes to a Delos office in Dubai. Dubai seems weirdly unaffected by the end of the world, but the apocalypse should get here eventually. This apocalyptic promo shot seems to be based on Dubai's real skyline. William rolls in like a crazy old man ranting at the receptionist about robots. William thinks he's the hero of this story, like Sir Rowan in his book. He thinks that he's gonna save the world. But the truth is, William's a side character. He's so irrelevant that this scene only happens after the credits. William represents the delusional, narcissistic arrogance of man. William finds Charlotte Loris. She's reprinted her body, but she keeps the burn on her arm from when Serac killed her family, to remind herself of how brutal humans are. Charlotte says Dolores was wrong to help humanity, and Charlotte wants the world for the hosts. It sounds like she wants to take over the world and wipe out humanity. So while Dolores chose to see the beauty, Charlotte sees the ugliness in humanity. Dolores said that she was torn between two impulses, helping humanity or destroying them. So when she split into Dolores and Charlotte Loris, it's like Dolores became the heroic side and Charlotte the destructive side, the Wyatt side. In Season 1, Wyatt was an evil, destructive personality programmed into Dolores. Wyatt says that the land doesn't belong to the old settlers, it belongs to a new god who walks on sand made of human bones. Dolores played that genocidal role in Season 2, but now Charlotte is like Wyatt. She wants to go full Terminator, reduce humanity to a sandy wasteland, and claim this Earth for the hosts. And Charlotte uses William in her plan. She's created a host version of William, who seems to be a perfect copy, kind of like the James Delos copy last season, a human mind in a host body. That James kept breaking down, so maybe this William is different somehow, but whatever it is, it slashes human William's throat, apparently killing him. William's story was always about self-destruction. He destroyed his own family, consumed himself with delusion. William was William's worst enemy. This season, he tried to kill his past selves, but in the end, William is destroyed by William. Charlotte seems kinda sad to watch him die. This Charlotte is a copy of Dolores, and Dolores and William had a long relationship, with moments of love and years of abuse. So this is revenge for Charlotte, but William's kind of pathetic in the end. For all his pride and brutality, William dies in a Dubai basement mourned by no one. Most people think he was already dead. This is the sad fate of humanity if we give in to our worst impulses. If we fail to change, if we keep hurting those around us, we self-destruct, with no one to mourn our passing. And William's torment isn't over. We know from last season's finale that a version of William ends up trapped in an endless loop. So William's life may be over, but his punishment is just beginning. Charlotte has hundreds of host printers, maybe making an army to take over the world. Is she making hundreds of copies of William? The bad guy in the original Westworld movie was a host man in black attacking humans. Maybe we've come full circle, and the bad guy in Season 4 will once again be a host man in black. It's said that Wyatt's men wear the flesh of Wyatt's enemies, so maybe Charlotte's army wears the flesh of her enemy, William. Or maybe Charlotte's making lots of copies of herself, spreading like a virus, like Agent Smith in The Matrix. If you want something done right, do it yourself. Or maybe Charlotte is making entirely new hosts. That was the point of the host-making data that she got from Delos. So this could be the first generation of hosts created not by humans to use in Westworld, but created by hosts to live in the real world. But what kinds of creatures will these hosts be if they're created by charred Loris for the end of the world? So there's a lot of cool possibilities for Season 4. Caleb and Maeve and the Outliers could lead humanity in a free world, while the apocalyptic charred Loris and an army of Ed Harrises fight to wipe them out. And Clementine and Hanayo and Lawrence and Doglores might also be around. Meanwhile, Bernard oversees a strange digital world in the Sublime. A paradise built by machines for machines, perhaps making whole new kinds of consciousness in a separate stream of time. At its best, Westworld sparks the imagination. It gets you thinking about the future and technology and identity and meaning, and whether it's gay to spoon a robot copy of yourself. This is what science fiction should be. But Westworld tries so hard to be smart that sometimes its plots and characters are a mess. Bernard did almost nothing this season, apart from giving vague exposition. Maeve spent another season having pointless sword fights and being controlled by others, which even the actress Tandy Newton said was frustrating since Maeve was meant to have won her freedom seasons ago. Serac was an interesting character, but despite his all-seeing, all-powerful supercomputer, he and his goons were completely incompetent in stopping Dolores. Serac was only defeated in the end because he chose to plug his enemy Dolores directly into the supercomputer that controls the world, which is about as smart as sending your credit card to a Nigerian prince. And once again, Dolores' motivations were a total mystery until the end. And it's really hard to root for a character when you don't know what they want and why. So there are a lot of problems with Westworld Season 3, but it still explores important ideas with ambition and depth and great acting and production and music, so in the end, we can choose to see the ugliness in Westworld or to see the beauty. Alt-Shift-X is making more videos about the Game of Thrones books, and covering series like His Dark Materials and Dune. His Dark Materials is about polar bears, witches, and killing God, and Dune is about space politics, philosophy, and sandworms. These are all awesome books, and you can get any of them on audiobook for free right now by signing up for a trial with Audible. Members get an audiobook each month, and if you cancel, you keep the audiobooks. Sign up at audible.com/ASX. Thanks for watching this video and this whole Westworld series. And thank you to the patrons, including Liza and Mike Haydon, Kofi Carvel, Pilar Ava, C. Rolfs, Ricardo C., Abdullah Al-Sad, Paul Crompton, and Carlo Mendoza. Cheers.